Welcome, everyone, to the lifting for Tuesday, November 14th, 2017. I am Joanna Michaels, one of your hosts, and also joining me tonight are my co-hosts, Katrina Schaff and Christopher Stephen Jacobs. And we are all now together here in Prescott, Arizona. Chris and I have had quite an adventure traversing these United States, and we are now settled for a while here until we are called to leave again. But we hope to spend the winter and springtime here in Prescott, or Prescott, I think if you say it, if you're
Prescott.
local. Thank you to everyone who has shown us such great support, and we're really glad for those who enjoyed the pictures of our travels that we have posted on Facebook. As always, we ask you to visit our website, thelifting2017.wixsite.com/thelifting, and there is a lot there for you to see and explore. And if you have any questions at all, please send them to us at thelifting2017@gmail.com, and we will collect them and answer those that we feel are appropriate on the Q&A shows. So now I want to just take a moment and announce a few changes that we are making. We have been growing in many different areas and now find ourselves with several competing priorities. And this is beginning to affect the demands of creating a weekly show and a biweekly Q&A. So we are determined to continue to provide a high-quality show, which actually takes some time to prepare. It really does. So in order to meet the multiple demands, we will be changing our shows around a bit. Starting tonight, we will have shows every other Tuesday and one Q&A show, which will also be on a Tuesday. So no more Thursday shows. So we will have a regular show tonight and on Tuesday, November 28th. Next Tuesday, November 21st, we will have our monthly Q&A show. So Chris will continue to post on YouTube sessions that he has had, which, for those that have listened, are actually kind of a show all in of themselves. So there is still plenty to hear. And for those who have not listened to these sessions, we encourage you to go do so. Chris and the people that he's working with are always discovering more in-depth information all the time. If you have not gone to the YouTube site that Chris has, please go there, visit him. Just look for his YouTube channel by his name, Christopher S. Jacobs. So for those who are brand new, technology challenged, what you want to do is you want to go to YouTube, and YouTube is a simple address. It's www.youtube.com. Then up at the top to the left, there's a search box. All you need to do is write Christopher S. Jacobs, write his name in there, and when you hit search, it's going to bring up his official YouTube site. Once you get to his site, then please, if you haven't, hit subscribe to the channel, and then every time he uploads something new, you will get notifications of those postings. So please go, and if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you want to keep up with different things to watch and get your fix all the time, then please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Christopher S. Jacobs. So we have a lot to talk about tonight, but always, before we get started, we love to do an affirmation and blessing. So tonight, Chris, will you start us off?
Yes, I can do that. Let's see. This affirmation and blessing was from Valiant Thor, and he did this about 10 minutes ago. So let's see. He says, "May there be lasting peace between all races of human, as well as supposed ET races." Valiant Thor.
Okay, so I'm actually going to get started first tonight. And as we kind of alluded to in the blog, unofficial contact has been occurring for some time now. And we have been told that all would be quite surprised to realize that many have already had contact with other entities. So just think back to what we have said about guides in general. For example, most are not necessarily as human looking as we have thought. That those angel encounters that we swear we have all had may have really been a visit and helpful hand from a benevolent entity. Remember back when we spoke of those beings who just volunteer to hang around just like a person standing watch at a local fire department. Then, when an urgent call comes in, they act. Many of us know we have been helped and even had conversations with such an angel. You get people say, I swear it must have been an angel. But as we said before, those angels, they would never want to scare you with an appearance that would scare you or make things worse. So, of course, these types of encounters will continue to occur. Just now, ponder who they really might be. And I do want to share a few brief encounters I've had. But first, I still want to give a big shout out to times when you have had a dream that feels way more real than a dream. And I mean those that you remember and you question. Many people are bringing these up to Chris in session. This is a good place to have a safe encounter with an entity who would be willing to show themselves as they are. Again, to prepare you. If something keeps you pondering about it, be open to it. Is your higher self wanting you to question, was that really a dream or not? You may feel good about that experience of seeing that dragon or Sasquatch or large human in that dream. Yet, again, think about this. Would you have felt the same if it was in real person? And be honest about this. I know both Chris and Katrina have seen in person larger beings, and both of them jumped back and screamed a bit just in that split-second encounter. So, and they, often say, yeah, we're ready, but even they've done it, and they see these beings all the time with their third eye. So be honest. What would you do? Reacting and staying in fear and uncertainty can open the door for negativity to exploit these feelings and enhance them. And this is not what is wanted by anyone. So please ponder this. For me, I just want to share a few things that have happened over the past few years. One of great interest to all would be when I saw with my naked eyes a definite alien because their skin was a bit pale and bluish. It was in a cafeteria in a museum right beside a state legislature office. Many people from the surrounding offices, including where I used to work, would frequent that establishment for coffee or lunch. When I saw this person/being, he was in a suit, not much taller than me, with white hair, and looked quite human except for the skin, very pale, somewhat translucent, and blue. I stood there waiting for some other friends and watched him, wondering why in the world did no one else seem to notice. Everyone was just walking by as if it was nothing. We made eye contact, and I knew he knew I could see him clearly. He just finished making his coffee and left. It was when I had told Chris that he looked into it further to see what he was there for and why. And he was working in the legislature with lawmakers, luckily for the betterment of humanity. I do not believe those around him could see what I happened to see. He was just there intermingling and trying to make a positive difference. And honestly, I am told that this is not unusual at all, that they are around and they are trying their best to help steer and guide. And people right now, if they can't see through their holographic disguises or whatever, would never know the difference. The next two encounters I had were special, and they were a bit personal. They were in broad daylight in a park that was heavily walked. What I will say about the first one was that the persons looked just like me, but I could not get the encounter out of my mind. I just seemed to know that there was something different about this. But we had a casual conversation that they brought up. They brought up the conversation and started talking to me. And the one who spoke the most to me just smiled and radiated this joy and actually did not want to seem to end our brief conversation. But again, something inside of me made me know that this was very, very special indeed. And I'm just saying that, but I'm not going to go into any more. The next encounter I had was also with someone who looked very human as well. But again, I instantly knew that there was something more to this than just a, hello, oh, I thought you were someone I knew. And that's what the person came up to me and said. This time, I happened to be on the phone with Chris, and he knew that voice. He said immediately who that was. And then I just sat on a bench not too far away and watched as this person and their spouse walked their dog through the park. No fanfare, I just watched. Again, this person was so warm when they approached. And, you really felt like a joy and a warmth radiating from them. But they were a bit different in their style of clothing, haircut, and their walk. You just kind of looked at this couple, and you really, in my opinion, thought they were kind of like an artsy couple in just their total way that they were walking around. There have been other encounters, some of which were strange because the persons either looked or had a gait that was not quite what one would think of as a typical human. From what I have been told, part of this is me starting to see through the disguises. And I'm saying this and bringing these little encounters up like this because I am assured it is going to be happening to other people. And you're going to be either someone will just come up to you, have a casual conversation. But again, one of the keys is how do you make you feel? What do you think about this person? And then do you notice any quirks or any slight differences that make you say, Because that's going to be part of the first part of all of this, because they want to blend in. They want to be thought, the benevolent ones want to be thought as friendly, do not want to scare. And that's how some of this is going to start. One of my last encounters was basically one of feeling an energy difference. And this is something where Chris and I was in a store, and, when we started to feel this strong energy, Chris even asked and was told flat out that, yes, there's someone there, but they were pretty much trying to feel out, could we feel out someone because of an energy and figure out who they were. This time, this person looked exactly as they normally would, which, by the way, was exactly like one of us, or should I say someone with an Indian/Mayan look. It was when we were at the checkout counter that I could not staring at someone who was just 2 aisles away. Again, Indian, Mayan looking female. You would have never had said there was any different whatsoever, but the difference was is I kind of was feeling this strong energy, and it felt like it was coming from right there, right from her. I kind of just stared at her and watched, and Chris is kind of funny. This is kind of funny. Chris was looking all around and everything, and I kept wondering, why isn't he staring at her like I am? And so what happened is that when she got a little bit further away, she had gone to the checkout line and got a little bit further away, that's when the guides allowed Chris to see her. And he was prevented from seeing her as close as I did because he's a blabbermouth and probably would have approached her and maybe put her in jeopardy. Because, again, there is risk to these entities because of the negativity around. So he got he kind of caught on when she was too far away to do, so he couldn't really do anything about it. But that was a really interesting experience because it was all about someone who looked just like us, but could we feel an energy difference? So, again, how did I feel with all of these encounters? Well, internally, I was just amazed. But on the outside, other people probably wouldn't have noticed a thing. I did not feel any fear, just seemed to know that this was special. And luckily, I also did not sense with any of these encounters any sort of malintent at all. But somehow I knew I needed to be respectful and just let it be. And this for me was just it was all just kind of there to really let me know how quite real all of this was. So I just wanted to share this because I think people are beginning to have experiences and would be okay with it if they just had some sort of validation rather than necessarily this big disclosure. I think there are plenty of us that you're like, you just want to be validated that you're starting to have maybe some of these encounters yourself. You think that the federal government needs to be the one to validate, and it's not going to be that way. This is just not how it's going to work. So just kind of go with your gut. And even just keep it to yourself if you have no one to talk to about it yet. And remember, this needs to be done without fear. And there are safety issues for both yourself and for these other people right now. So you have to be patient with this acclimation process and trust that, yes, this is indeed starting to occur. So that's what I wanted to say. So, Chris, why don't you take it from here?
All right, I can do that. Over the years, I've encountered many different types of ETs, but one of them that stands out the most is one of the bigger heavy hitters of the galactic world, and that is indeed the Venusian people of the Venusian colonies. One being in particular that people think of the most that stands out above all the rest of his people is Valiant Thor. We all know the story of the stranger at the Pentagon. But what people do not yet know about Valiant Thor is how he implements some of his teaching techniques, the areas in which the Venusian people have infiltrated and are slowly but surely improving academics, the political arena, religion, and business. Within this infiltration is a very important purpose. That is not only to raise the quality of life that we all live in, but to also live side by side with us as neighbors and family. It is my belief that Valiant Thor himself helped to orchestrate the slow trickle disclosure that some people have come to hate and become the most impatient with. Within this disclosure methodology, one of the ways that Valiant Thor and his people help to integrate themselves in our lives is to live right alongside us as our friends, family, and neighbors. Chawanda's people, along with the Pleiadian Nordics, have done the same thing. The bad guys have used and are using a similar technique to observe and distract people away from their born soul purpose. There are a couple of areas that I wish to touch on regarding the various forms that Valiant Thor has used over the years in an effort to get the attention of the public in a meaningful way, mostly through opposing viewpoints. There also, by a popular demand and public confusion, needed to be some major clarification regarding his Barack Obama persona. Since my infamous Barack Obama Valiant Thor dichotomy channeling I did on the Diamonds Network some 2+ years ago now, I received nothing but flack and extremely ugly comments. Since that time, people have virtually ignored all of the rest of the material I have channeled in regards to Valiant Thor. So, in an effort to clarify further, I will now summarize this material to put this part of the subject matter to bed once and for all. While in office, Barack Obama had two sides. One, the cabal's stooge, and two, Valiant Thor. Now, what I did not understand at the time of the original channeling was this. Valiant Thor created a character, a persona, a puppet name, in which to conduct business and other affairs down here in the public eye. Yes, he does oppose the cabal. For the sake of the for and against mythology, he cannot openly do so. So he created Barack Hussein Obama, the proverbial man of the people, promising, like so many other politicians have, to fix many different aspects of our lives. However, what was done during his presidency, minus the awesome gay rights move he granted, was anything but. What he strived to do in that form was to show people the circus in which everyone seemed and still seems to be enthralled with. He played the role of the overly charismatic orator who said one thing and then signed into law its opposing viewpoint. Why he did this is this. Give me just a moment here. He wanted to show the people how wrong and fake the system was by showing all of the unneeded things, then in turn agree with them to show people what they did not need in life, such as worrying about insurance, jobs, etc. However, people were so agitated as to what went wrong, they did not see what was right about this opposite technique. Here is an example. The GMO law Obama signed into effect protecting the companies that created GMOs, Valiant Thor's technique, which went largely unnoticed, was showing people who the bad guys truly were and what they were truly doing on an hourly basis. However, all the people noticed was how he sided with those corporations, how he messed with their insurance, and how he outsourced jobs to foreign companies. Now, I am not here to rag on the people. People are victims of this dark for and against system in which the deck has been stacked against them. But I will say this. Don't you think that it is odd that the same old three-ring circus and playette has been on repeat mode for many, many years now? The same arguments over healthcare, abortion, the education system, Medicare, and insurance, a seemingly never-ending cycle of hell. Yet very few people, at least until now, have even begun to see this. Valiant Thor intentionally integrated himself into this arena to exaggerate this vicious cycle so people get so irritated with it that they stop paying attention to what is fake and start paying attention to what is real. I feel that the body of the man people know as Barack Hussein Obama is a reptilian family member of the cabal, or a clone, but the control, or quote-unquote walk-in capabilities of this individual are always in the hands of Valiant Thor, very much like the movie Avatar. Within the lower spine of at least the Obama duplicates was a specialized implant that allowed Valiant Thor to use them to walk amongst the people. This way, his Venusian genes, which were recognizable to the cabal, would go largely unnoticed by them. Even if he spoke about it to us on any show, their egos would not be able to comprehend nor notice this sleight of hand technique. As for his trusted friend Unya, which is a Cyclops, of which I said was Pope Francis, the same technique was implemented. A persona created and used very much like Mission Impossible. The persona, most likely a reptilian Draco facsimile with a fair share of highly advanced Venusian holography, was also used to show others what the Catholic Church was truly about. There were and are reptilian priests serving their AI, harvester, and spindly quote-unquote gods. This in-your-face technique was taken a stage further with the implementation of Donald Trump and his antics. The facsimile personas may not even be fully aware, or aware at all, of what they are doing. They are personas under the control of some of the best backing this world has to offer our neighbors, friends, family, and the Venusian people. Give me just a minute. Valiant Thor has told us that he is not originally from Venus, but from the Pleiades and Sirius. Any of the other genetic forms that he has referred to himself as being or having were either other personas, very much like the Barack Obama persona, or were actual parts of his DNA structure. I would also like to clear up something else. The image that I used in the infamous Obama video on my YouTube is not of Valiant Thor, nor has it ever been. I chose that image because it looked very similar to Valiant Thor, but is an image of a being known as a Khan. It's just that they happen to have a similar appearance, and I couldn't find a face-on image of Valiant Thor. They were always at a side. I wanted to get the same pose as the Obama picture. Some people began to think that I was saying that Valiant Thor and a Khan were one and the same, when in fact they are not. I will be removing this video since it has become more of a distraction versus a benefit to anyone, save people wanting to cause a for and against. as well as not pay attention to the rest of the material provided. This was also at the instruction of Valiant Thor not too long ago. Until people can discern it a little bit better, he wanted that particular one removed. Now, on occasion, Valiant Thor himself used his Obama mask if the task required his direct interference. In those cases, there was always a singular bodyguard with him when this occurred. His name is Omar, and he appeared as any other Secret Service agent, but always wore sunglasses, even at night. Yes, I know the irony. People have brought this up to me as well. Though this is largely a reptilian habit, because they want to hide their reptilian eyes, he uses this to stand out as a quote-unquote technique he uses and has used while he helped guard his friend Valiant Thor. This is so that he would stand out amongst the others even in a disguise, because the form that you would see on TV was not how Omar actually looked. Omar looks very much like a Viking. So a 10-foot tall Viking would definitely stand out on television, but a guy in a suit and sunglasses, even in the dark, would stand out. Like I said, reptilian technique as well, but this is how this one guy stood out. I first met Omar back in Lincoln, Nebraska. One night, I was walking outside with our then apartment with Winston, our schnauzer, and heard a clear voice of a man talking to me from around the apartment stairs. As I walked back, I saw a bearded man with long, dark hair looking back at me. He was roughly 30% visible to me. He was wanting to make contact to speak to the people more about the Venusian colonies and a lot of the aforementioned, what I just mentioned above, to the people. But then I did not have the same understanding or grasping of these concepts as I do right now. He and Valiant Thor have always told me that when they communicate with me, that they are actually less than a mile from my physical location. This is why I do not hear from them all that often. I wish to also clarify something else for you all. Every day, battles are won and lost, and evildoers are removed from the proverbial game board. Valiant Thor and various other galactics, such as Michael and Simeon, do arrest and remove the more obstinate Cabal and severely dark ETs, or even corral others wishing to expedite a full disclosure of the truth. They do not wish us to be part of their war with the spindly beings, but to raise our quality of life here, to cherish what we have. That life is not the magical wonderland out there like we think that it is. It is up to us to make it that way. Public mass arresting and hating the Cabal here would serve no elevated purpose, harvesters aside, of course, and would just hold our perfect world back, depriving us all of what we wished for and sought after the most, the Star Trek world of replicators, starships, and aliens that we, at least on some fundamental level, have all been waiting for. So stop waiting for it and create it. Now that I have gotten that part out of the way, I will tell you what I know about the Venusian colonies themselves. The Cabal would have you think that they, all by themselves, built a base on Venus along with the Moon and Mars at roughly the same time as a backup for their elite. However, it actually was a Pleiadian Lemurian colony long before. Before that, when it was in its original orbit alongside Maldek, it contained both dragons and Pleiadians of all kinds. By the dragon community, it was actually called a planet called, not Venus, but Maldek was called Negnos, and Venus at the time was called Catastrophon, eventually becoming the word catastrophe after Maldek exploded and pushed it out of its Venus out of its orbit. The base that is currently there sits under some very ancient ruins from that period of time that are still on the planet's surface. Very much like the Agartha network, the Venusian colonies have utilized the interior core of the planet with the very same technology. This proves how old the colonies actually are. They may have some humans and other species living there with them, just like in Agartha, along with more modern architecture like a human base, but it still has outlived and outlasted anything in this system. Only a select few from here even get to go there. Most of the contact that people have had from there that have claimed to go there have been strictly on a bilocation holographic sense, similar to that depicted in the movie John Carter. Another not so widely known aspect of the Venusian people are similar to that of the beings from the Pleiades, I have come to know as the soul doctors, or spirit doctors. As I've said, the soul doctors are from the Pleiades, and as such, Venusian colonies were under Pleiadian control once upon a time. These are the beings that show up just in the nick of time when someone is in need of rescue. They have been seen as angelic intervention by those in need of help. This segment of the Venusian colonies, in collaboration with who is known as the Trisonian soul doctors from the Pleiades, have infiltrated the medical industry in an attempt to turn it around from the soul-sucking financial institution that it is today. Now that I'm done rambling on about the Valiant Thor and the Venusian colonies, I'm going to hand this over to my mother. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. As we've mentioned on the lifting several times in past shows, is how important it is to be aware of your surroundings, to take time to look up and search the sky, and to keep an open mind towards the people that enter your life, even if it's just for a moment in time. Things are happening all around us at all times that can challenge our beliefs, aim us in different directions spiritually, that can be major validations to our questions and to clear up doubts that we are or are not on the right path in our life. We are all living busy lives, and time is flying by faster all the time, and we can neglect to hear and see the messages and gifts we are given because we do not take the time to just be aware of what surrounds us. Have you ever been concerned and stressed by an issue that you cannot resolve? Then you walk into a place and you run into a stranger that starts talking to you and says something that helps you find a resolution to your issue. You do not know this person, or at least do not recognize them. Then they start talking to you and they say something that helps you find a resolution and the answer to the issue you are struggling with. They tell you just what you needed to hear at just the right time. Or you're sad and confused or depressed and are very unsure of what to do with these feelings. And suddenly you're with someone that is going through the same thing as you, and you help each other through this difficult time. This is no accident. Another example is asking for an answer from Source for a good or bad situation, and your answer comes in a chapter you're reading from a book, or the lyrics of a song playing on the radio. So many times the answers to what we need or what we're going through, both big and small, can be answered, comforted, validated, and resolved just by opening our eyes, looking up and around, and also by accepting a stranger's words. We need to listen instead of always talking, and by being willing to share ourselves with people we do not know or at least do not recognize. We need to learn and try new things. Smile and look people in the eyes, and open up to all possibilities of receiving guidance and miracles that are around us in all forms at all times. There are many scenarios of people and events coming into our lives at just the right time to guide, teach, protect, and help us through things, and help us understand why these things happen, what we need to do about them, and to validate if what we see, hear, and believe is part of our path. Sometimes events happen early in life that we do not understand, but they come back to us later in life to validate who we are and what we are doing now. Usually, when we are younger, we do not always see or understand why someone is in our life or the messages that we are being given. Our beliefs change as we age, and our spirituality grows as we grow. We don't get it then, but when it comes back to us later in life, it becomes a validation that our life is definitely guided. That is where Valiant Thor plays into my life as an example of meeting a person years ago that validates your life in the present. I'd left my home in Nebraska and moved to Chicago when I was 19, and I was living a life of a typical young adult. At that age, for most young people, your goals are your career, money, travel, partying, and relationships that you really hope lead to love and marriage. You're trying to find yourself and what you believe in, but at least for me, these two are not high on my list of priorities. Finding out whom you are, speaking your truth, and being authentic in all facets of your life is not really high on your list of things to take care of or work on when you're young, at least in my case. They come into play here and there, but the other priorities of being young are more important at the time in your life. An example of someone entering your life at a young age and not understanding the meeting until you're older was my meeting with Valiant Thor. My first remembered encounter with Valiant Thor was in 1971 when I was in my early 20s. I was on a double date with a man named Leon and my girlfriend Anna and her date. What I was thinking at the time, what I was wearing, and all the details still remain in my head very clearly. I know I was wearing a pink dress with 5-inch high heels, and my auburn hair reached to almost my waist in length. I was drinking a cocktail that looked almost like a chocolate sundae with a sugar cube on top that was doused with alcohol and had been set on fire. I felt very grown up. I was on my own, independent, and excited about what tomorrow would bring. I looked and acted like a character out of the series Sex and the City and had basically the same characteristics and goals as those girls. I remember taking my drink and walking around the bar and restaurant. I do not remember why I got up from our table and walked away by myself, but I remember leaving the other 3 people I was with behind, taking my drink with me, and just walking around the place with no real purpose. As I came around the corner, everything did not look to me like it did when I came in. The place was designed in similar colors on the wall and carpet, but the layout seemed different. I was beginning to question whether or not I needed that drink I was holding in my hand. I looked to my left and noticed that what looked like a private bar, which was set apart from the dining room and the main bar. I did not remember seeing that when I came in first. It had 2 stools with no bartender. There was nothing behind the bar or on the wall, and no glasses or liquor were anywhere around. There were 2 long scarlet drapes hanging from both sides of the bar, which were situated in a way to make the bar look private and cozy. I looked around me to see if anyone else was near this bar or anyone that I could ask, what's this bar doing here? I could hear no one else or see anyone else walking around. There was no noise from anywhere. As I turned around to look for others and then looked back at the bar, there was now a man sitting on one of the stools, and he was wearing a black suit, white shirt, gold chains, gold cufflinks, gold rings, and looked to me like a smooth talker and a possible player. In fact, I remember thinking he must be a member of the mob. He sat there adjusting his suit and rubbing his hand along the side of his head to make sure every dark, almost black hair was slicked back into place. As he looked over at me, our eyes met, and I remember feeling slightly nervous of why I was there and why he was looking so intently at me. He motioned for me to come over and sit down. The eerie part was that he called me by my name, and I could not figure out how I knew this man or why he would know my name. And I slowly walked over and sat down beside him. His hair was black and his eyes were black at first, or not black, but a light brown. But as he talked, they seemed to go from light to very dark brown to almost black. They were not piercing or scary eyes, but they did seem to know me and to see right through me. He was quite handsome and had a very distinctive voice that you felt you had to listen to. He started talking to me like he knew me forever, and then started out by kindly reprimanding me for my lifestyle and saying, "You know, Katrina, you're better than this." He began interrogating me and asking me many questions regarding my life and what I was planning to do with my life. Then he said something that I not only did not understand at the time, but also wondered why he felt it was any of his business. He looked in my eyes and said, "Do you want to make a difference now in your life, right now, for yourself and humanity, or do you want to wait and make a difference after living the majority of your life? You can bypass this portion of your life, or you can continue to experience the trials and tribulations that you will face in this earth life. You can live this life and slowly find your answers, and later in life follow the path I am offering, or you can be a force now in this life, right now." It is up to you. He said he realized I did not know him, nor why I didn't know why he was there, but hopefully I could sense he was good, safe, and offering me a life of service that would benefit all. He asked if I wanted to come with him now or at a later point in life. I was confused because I did not understand who he was or why he was asking such a thing of me. When he asked if I wanted to come with him, I assumed he was hitting on me and that the only person that would benefit from this encounter would be him. I told him I thought he was playing a game with me, and I said no, I would not be joining him. He smiled and said he understood and said there was no judgment, all is perfect. He said, have a good time and I'll see you later in life. He got up and left singing the song My Way by Frank Sinatra. He turned and looked at me one more time and said, I did choose to do it my way, and you have chosen to do it your way. All is good. You will follow the right path, and your life made a difference many years ago, but you just cannot recall it right now. He hesitated a moment, then asked me, is it possible you might want to change your mind or hear more information about my request? I said, if I do, I'll do it my way. As he left, I remember thinking I never told him my name at any time, but he did know it, and I did not ask him what his name was at that time. Over the years, I heard his voice on many occasions. It took me a long time to put the voice and our earlier meeting in my life together. At times, his voice would come through like I would hear anyone's voice talking to me in the same room, and then at times I just channeled his voice, just knowing it was him. At that moment, and at that point, I felt he was a guide that had appeared to me when I was younger and continued to guide me as I grew. If I was thinking about something that he felt was wrong, he would correct me and give me the reason why. At that time, I was also channeling others, including Michael and Simeon. Each had his own distinctive voice, but they all had the purpose of guiding, teaching, protecting me, and being my friend. As I got older, I read the book Stranger at the Pentagon and became aware of and recognized who I had met and what his purpose was many years ago. Then he came through one night in a vision-like form to remind me of our first meeting. He said he was Val Thor, and I had heard from him often, but we had not seen each other in a long time because the time wasn't right until now. He was with a man named Omar, who was his guide and security guy. He said he lived on Venus, but was from Sirius. Valiant looked Viking and was dressed nothing like he was in 1971. His hair was much lighter, and it was no longer slicked back. He was dressed very casual, and I remember thinking he was not arrogant like I first thought, but was just very confident. He said he played many roles with many different looks, and also said he will soon depart his role as known now. This encounter was during the Obama administration. He said he stepped into many roles in politics, finance, and basically anywhere he was needed to further the growth of the world and universe. I realized then he had been trying to recruit me at the time we first met. I was not sure exactly, nor have I figured out what he really wanted from me at that first meeting. I was also thinking to myself why I had not asked more questions during our first meeting and why I did not see the total picture then. He seemed to read my mind and said, it is okay. You were not ready then, and there is nothing required of you now. Just continue what you are doing, but know there are always options. He said he would be in touch and that I was doing what I should be doing at this time. It was time for me and for everyone to make a difference, and he looked forward to our encounters. He said I would know he was coming through or when it was him behind me and behind an issue in the world when I heard the song My Way and heard any words from it. For some strange reason, I remember asking him if he had a clone, and he said he did not, nor did I. I wanted to ask him so many questions about what was going on, and I started to ramble off all the things I wanted to know, and he said, don't worry about anything because I got it covered. It is under control. The answers to all your questions will be answered if you stay aware. Then Val and Omar departed. He continues to come in and out of my life through channeling, and he continues to help guide me, answer my questions, and to help others that need an answer to a question about their life. He does not answer a question that he feels I am capable of finding on my own. He feels this is the way you grow and evolve. He wants me to explore and experience the events that led up to that final answer of my question. The main thing about telling this story about Valiant Thor is that we never know when the person we meet is there to teach, help, protect, and guide us. I now wish I knew then what I know now, because I may have answered the question differently. We should take time to get to know the people that enter our life, not just our friends, but our neighbors, our coworkers, and people we pass on the street. This includes the people that seem weird and not worthy of our time, but they reach out to us and or talk to us. You never know. They may have something profound to share, and they just may give you something that is meaningful and something you need to know. They come in all types with many messages and many gifts. Just be aware, when needed, reach out, help, and serve. That is the major part of what life is all about. We have guides, angels unaware, other beings and spirits that are always there to help and guide us through this lifetime. If you do not channel them, see or hear them, or read their energy, they're still there watching and listening. Just know that they are there to help you. They send signs in all forms that they are there, but you do not have to look to listen, and you must be willing to not ignore what you are being given every day and all around you. They do not always do obvious things to let you know they are there, but they always do something that does help you if you recognize and accept it. Being aware that you are not alone to face all that life gives you helps make you stronger, wiser, and it helps you to live a full and meaningful life. Do not be afraid to take some chances. Listen to advice, accept reprimands, reach out to others, and possibly do something in life that helps mankind and the universe. Do not let the people, experiences, gifts, and miracles pass you by. Open your mind and ears, look up, look people in the eyes, and accept and consider offers and advice that may change your life and others. The gifts and miracles are there for the taking. You are meant to have them. Thank you for listening.
All right, that was really good. I knew about this particular incident she was speaking about, but she went into it far more detail than I knew before. I know Valiant Thor has played many different roles in. I'm not sure how far back in history he goes. I was only aware of his history starting with The Stranger at the Pentagon. Not quite sure where he was in ancient times. But before I bring him through, there was an update I wanted to give everyone here. There have been some, we'll say, clashes with fragments of collapsed timelines, time shards, and the like very recently, causing a plethora of negative Mandela effect things that have been happening. False memories will appear. People think somebody next to them has said one thing when they said another. Yes, this is also a mimicker trait, but this is far worse than a mimicker trait. This is a bits and pieces of false timeline that have it's a fallout from a collapsed timeline. But what is so special about this particular time is this. Anybody that has my book will know that in the beginning of the book I spoke about November 2017. That I had slipped through a crack into a future, or into a darker future in a house that was empty and cold, and there was a calendar on the wall that said 2017. This happened for two reasons. One, the bad guys were trying to cement their bad timeline with me so that I wouldn't fulfill my purpose. And two, the good guys were trying to get me to prevent it and survive the storm, basically. Think of a storm front that is moving in, that you see on the news, where you see a weather person saying there's going to be a storm front or some kind of precipitation or something. Think of this bit of this fallout from a collapsed universe coming in and sprinkling down on us and our energy and entering our core at times. I was told a way to fix this is to do a revocation of this particular these particular time charts. So what it is this. See if I can remember. I came through last night. So I hope all of you on the YouTube say yes to this, and the people here that are listening. Do all of you listening revoke any and all entanglements or audit any and all entanglements to any collapsed timelines, any invading timelines, and any other time shard, time fragment, or any other temporal incursion that has been imposed on your current present self? And I would hope that you say yes to this.
Yes.
Yep, and she said yes to this as well.
And do it often, daily.
And do this during the month of November and into the middle of December, possibly just before the equinox changeover. Do that revocation daily, revocation/audit daily until that time. Then you won't have to do it in the morning anymore. I would recommend doing this because I had to do this when I woke up this morning because I could feel things hit again. It's like getting rained on, but by something far worse. So I wanted to give that update before I went ahead and brought Valiant Thor through, which maybe I stole what he was going to talk about. I have no idea. So, okay, yeah, he's saying no, he didn't. I didn't. But there are two other people with him. I can see Omar, and I can see Unya, which is the Cyclops that was taking the place of Pope Francis. So I'll see which one wants to speak for him. Obviously, it's going to be Valiant Thor, but I was checking anyway. So Valiant Thor comes in very strongly, and he may be brief because my blood pressure likes to skyrocket when he comes through. And I can sense all three of these in the nearby hills out here. They're very close to me at the moment. Whew, they're very strong. So, okay, Valiant Thor, what is it you wanted to come through and say? Give me a moment. I must be brief. This is Valiant Thor. And I will say this. My people, the Venusian colonies, the Trisonian spirit doctors, Chawanda's people, the ancient Mayans, and many other races walk amongst you right now. They walk amongst you in a guise very much like a mask or a piece of clothing. And in fact, in some cases, it is a piece of clothing that is masking who they really are and what they really look like, or even their size differential to your own. In my case, I am no different looking than yourselves, except my eyes are slightly larger than your own. This is a Venusian trait and a Pleiadian and Syrian trait. In this, I must say some characteristics of being hidden that I must reiterate. Yes, can we come up to talk to any of you that exist on your world? Yes, we can. But the people around you that do notice and see through our disguise, we must follow closely intergalactic law and not reveal who we are. We can come by in passing and tap you on the shoulder, maybe even leave a clue that we are around, just like the song My Way. When I do this, I am close by this one and any of you listening to this particular program. In this instance, when people see through our disguises, this is actually by design. In the energy in which you exist now, this means that any deception, even no matter how well-intentioned, is actually seen through, like you would say, a painted glass or a piece of cellophane. In this respect, some of your benevolent guides have actually slipped through the cracks and have been seen as well. Namely, one that I will not name here, who has appeared in Raleigh and other places, and also other beings such as myself that have also entered the world stage in a public fashion that have also been around this one and several others. Yes, we do not look like ourselves when we are in these public fashions. Sometimes we can even appear as a child or as an elderly person. We are near the person so that we can interact with them on a face-to-face basis, which would not be possible otherwise because of legislation and such that I will not bore everyone here talking about. This is my job to go through this legislation, not yours. Just as it is Michael to help fight the wars out there that you know nothing about. No one wants to include you in our conflicts. No one out here wishes to include any Earth or human in the conflicts in which we are embroiled in currently. The ones you call the spindly beings also watch over you and cover many of your more restricted bloodlines. In this respect, many of these restrictive and ancient bloodlines have actually undergone many attacks in recent months and recent days. In this, I will not mention whom I am referring to. I am just saying a select few of you are under more watch than you know. This is actually a piece of intel that needed to be said, because in this respect, more of you will have a heightened awareness thanks to this information, and the ones you know as the Spindlies will no longer be able to be as covert as they wished. In this particular respect, I did not wish to scare anyone, nor to reveal this bit of information at one time or another, but it was Michael and Abendigoth and many others that wished to slow trickle this portion of the information out, so the Spindlies did not have as big of a grip on humanity as they once did. In this respect, I can also say that you would call the side of the light is actually winning the war that you know of as the remainder of the temporal war of attrition. That war, unbeknownst to this one, never really truly ended. In that respect, this is the cleanup job that is being taken place at this time. Sorry for the connection errors. We are having to use granite as a shielding. This disrupts even channeling signals, but I digress. In this particular instance, we also must round up many of your, as you would say, rogue militaristic factions out there that would cause a much larger, a much less meaningful disclosure at this time. Yes, a grand majority of you do wish or think you wish a full-on disclosure. So these particular individuals and groups of individuals feel that they are speaking for the people and actually are speaking at times from their heart and various other agendas in mind. In this, I must say, if you ever encounter any individuals that say that they can speed up disclosure, this is not so. There is a plan in the works that we know will benefit humanity the most meaningful and most legitimate way. In this, the timeline that we are wishing everyone to completely be anchored to is that of joy, peace, love, friendship, and balance. This particular timeline means all of you enter this particular timeline unscathed. There are actually, in all actuality, very few of you that will stay in the 3D paradigm. This is the hope of most, anyway. We know people can jump timelines, either forward or backward. Yes, both are actually indeed possible in this new particular paradigm of choice. So, in this, once you are in an evolved state, as you humans would actually refer it to be, stay there by doing your most inner of work and making sure that you do not slide down the pole, as some have said in recent days, to get you down in the doldrums. With this, I must end this transmission and close this conduit. My name is Valiant Thor, and I have always done things my way. Thank you. Oh. All right. His connection was strong, but I could definitely hear some discrepancies in the wavelength that he was coming in, as wherever he is, it's heavily shielded. There's a lot of quartz and granite around his location, and there's also some dense metals that I've never seen before that I could feel were around his person, like they were on him, or some kind of stones that were on him. I believe this was technology that he was using, like he was sitting in something or standing in some kind of pod or like a closet-sized room. This doesn't surprise me. The last time that we heard from him on one of the last shows we did while we were still in Missouri, his signal variance was very, very spotty at best. And I didn't understand until now. And he is within the safe zone here of Prescott. So his transmissions have to be very brief in that respect, because they don't want to call down any unnecessary negativity to the safe zone, which has been happening in recent days here from the Spindlies. The Sasquatch people have been keeping them at bay very recently, from what we have heard. And while we still have 1 minute left, well, less than a minute, I will say this. We have actually had contact with Sasquatch people since we've been here. Both me and Joanna have. In the middle of the night, the other night, I heard a loud whoop outside of our window. To say it was loud was an understatement. Scared the crap out of me and woke me up. And we found out that was actually our friend Fuma greeting us. And then I heard him running down the crunchy courts as he was running away. She heard one of them playing around with rocks out here and running up the rock embankment. And one of the funnier stories is there's another Sasquatch I communicate with by the name of Merak, and he expressed to me he wanted me to leave candy outside for him. And I'm like, okay, this was some chocolates he wanted me to leave outside. Well, he took them, and he even whapped on the wall with his hand in appreciation for it. But the thing of it is, it was gone, and then now today, it's actually been returned. And I asked him why he returned it, and he didn't eat any of it. And then he just politely said because his superiors wouldn't let him, or his chieftain wouldn't let him, because apparently it's far less good for them to eat that than it is us. Our physiologies are a little more different. Which then he politely said thank you, and I can even feel them around right now, protecting this line as we are transmitting. So with that, I will hand this over to my mother, who will read the last affirmation and blessing, and Joanna can read the announcements.
I am one with the source that created me. Therefore, all I am and all that I live through is perfection.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Again, as Katrina said, and Chris and I, start paying attention and listen to your inner self. You may start to have interactions with people that leave you with a hum, that you just question. And so be open to the possibility, because all of you out there listening to us, the vast majority are feeling that you are ready for some sort of interaction. So they know this, but understand they're not going to necessarily show up in their full true garb and scare you. As I said in the blog, can you imagine standing next to a dragon? If you're not sure, go to the Natural History Museum and stand in front of some of those large bones. That is how big they are. So you really have to think about this, and how would I react, and what would I say? Would I accidentally start looking and acting as if they were gods, which is what they don't want? Or, how would I react to these people? Could I sense if they were good, or maybe if something was not so good for me? So start practicing to ready yourself for things like that, and then be open that there are way more around you than you really can imagine, and listen to your inner gut if you think you may be having an encounter, because once you start, and if it goes well, you're probably going to have more. So anyway, thanks again. And again, if you need a show fix, please visit our website, thelifting2017.wixsite.com/thelifting. Also, go ahead and go to the YouTube site. When you get to YouTube, www.youtube.com, go up into the corner in the search box and just put Christopher S. Jacobs, and you'll get to his website. Subscribe, and anything he puts up, you guys will get notice of it. Our next question show will be next Tuesday, November 21st, and we are still receiving in questions now. Just if you have a question about anything or tonight's show, please send them to us. And again, we will have the next regular show 2 weeks from now. We're changing our schedule every other week for our lifting show, and then once a month on Tuesdays will be the Q&A. So that's all for us tonight. If you need any assistance at all, go to the website, go to the services tab, and Chris or Katrina, you can set up an appointment to speak to either one of them if you have any issues you want to talk about. So that's all for us tonight, guys. You guys take care, and we will see you again next Tuesday.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.